Welcome to the Summer Practice Challenge. This week we're working on A major scales and arpeggios, a Kreutzer Etude, and the second movement from Modesta Bor Viola Sonata. Welcome back. Welcome to the studio. My name is Cassie and I'm a professional violist and teaching artist. So this week on the Summer Practice Challenge we're going to start with our A major scale and arpeggios. If you're new here, I do put timestamps below, so if you want to skip ahead to the etude or the solo work, you're more than welcome to do so. Just check those timestamps in the description. Our progression for this scale is we're going to do 2 beats per bow, then 2 notes per bow, then 4 notes per bow. The fingering pattern for this is exactly the same in first position as it is when we shift and do it in fourth position. So it's 1, high 2, high 3, touching 4, 1, high 2, high 3, and then we're going to shift and do that same exact pattern. 1, high 2, high 3, 4, 1, high 2, high 3, 4. If you want the notes and fingerings for this, check out Patreon. I do post all of it there, and we would love to have you in our community. Without further ado, let's do our 2-beat scale. So find that first note, A, and we're going to do 2 beats per bow. Ready? Go. High 2, high 3, 4, 1, 4, back down, cross 4, shift to first, arpeggio. A, C sharp, E, shift to A, C sharp, E, 4th finger A, back down, high 3, 1, shift to first position, 1, high 3, starts on A, C natural, E, shift to A, low 3, cross 1 to E, 4th finger A, 1, low 3, 1, shift to 1, low regular 3, talked about a bunch of different ways to practice scales in previous videos. You could use a metronome on the onbeat, the offbeat. You could do double stops with open strings or double stops with doubled fingers. You could play it with octaves, so 1 and 4 on A, and then you're going to shift up. There's lots of different ways to practice those scales. This is just a way to get us warmed up and ready for our etude and our solo. So speaking of our etude, this week it is from the Kreutzer book, and it's etude number 11. This is actually one of my favorites for practicing shifting. So if you're new to shifting, I did make a tutorial on just shifting, and I'll post that in the comments below. But this one is super great for practicing our shifting, especially on the same string and then 2 different strings. So as always, we're not going to do this whole etude. We're going to do a part of it, and I'm going to talk you through it. We'll do a slow playthrough and then maybe a closer to tempo playthrough. So at the very beginning, we're in A major again, and this one has a bunch of fingerings that are not suggested. They are mandatory because we are practicing shifting. So right from the beginning, I start in first position, 4-3-2, and then I see a 2 indicated underneath the notes. That means what string I should be playing on, the second string. So they want all of that on the D string. So what we're going to do to practice this is I'm always going to shift to the position that the next 3 notes are in. So to talk through that first one, I start in first position, and I'm going to shift on that string to E, which brings me to third position, which is what the next 3 notes are in. That C sharp, B, and A are in third position. So I would do 4-3-2, shift up, cross. Now this next group, because they want it all on the D string, we have to shift way up to C sharp and then plop 4. So I want to show you from the other side what my shift looks like. I want to make sure that my thumb is coming along for the ride. So you don't want to leave your thumb back in first position when you shift up to third position with your fingers. Everything should come together, and the shift comes from your forearm. So that's your mechanism for moving. So let's go back to the beginning. We're going to do that shift to third position, cross over to the D string, high 4. Shift up to that C sharp, plop 4. Shift with 2 to A, which is third position. Next measure starts in third position. Then I'm going to use my 1 to shift back down to first position. My 1 again shifts to G sharp. 1 shifts down to E. Next measure is also in first position. Shift up with 2, plop 4, shift up with 2, shift down with 2 to A. Next measure is also in third position. Shift down with 1, plop 3. Shift up to G sharp, plop 3. Shift down with 1, etc. So let's go through this. This is going to be super duper slow, and I'm just going to do 3 notes per bow. And I will call out either the finger or the position that we're shifting to, so hopefully that's easy to follow. It's also kind of indicated in the part that you're seeing below at the screen with my penciled in notes. So that's the note that I'm shifting to. And it's usually either the first or the last note of the next 3 notes. It's kind of confusing, but you'll get it. So let's try right at the beginning. Ready? Go. Shift to 2, plop 4. Shift to 2. Shift to 2A. Stay in third position. Shift with 1. Shift up with 1. Stay in first position. Shift to third. Shift up with 2 to C sharp. Shift down with 2 to A. Stay in third. Shift with 1 to first. Shift back up to third. Shift to first. Stay in first. Shift up to third. Shift down to first with 2. Shift up to third with 2. Stay in third. Shift to first with 1. Shift up to third. Plop 3. Shift to first. Shift up to third. Plop high 4. Shift to first with 2. Shift up to third. Shift down with 2. Shift up with 1. And then we got A harmonic here. Shift down with 2 to F sharp, which is just a step. Stay in third. Shift to first with C sharp. Shift up to third with 2. shift to first, stay in first, shift up to third with two, and that's as much as we're going to do. So obviously this is a practice technique. We wouldn't perform this piece with 3 notes per bow or sounding those shifts, but this is just so that we get comfortable with doing the shift. You want to make sure that as you're doing the shift, your finger weight, or the amount that you're kind of squishing into the string, is really light. If it's too kind of firm, I'm going to get this sound. It's like that clicking sound, and you hear kind of every half step along the way. We don't want that. We want really light finger weight. When I do this for real, my bow is going to help hide some of those shifts, but we'll get to that when we get there. So right now I do want to hear all of the shifts. We're going to try it one more time through, and we're going to play 2 groupings per bow. So that will look like this. So I want to make sure that also the speed of my shift, or how fast my finger is moving, doesn't go too fast or too slow. Too fast sounds like this. And I'm going to tend to overshoot it. Too slow sounds like this. So we want to make sure that in my head I'm subdividing that last note. So ba da da ba da da, and I'm going to kind of time the shift to fill out all of that subdivision. So it will sound like this. Ticka, ticka. So let's try that together. That's the tempo that we're going to go. Ready, set, go. Ticka. Light finger weight. So that might have been a really big challenge for you, and that's totally fine. Stop the video, go back to 3 notes per bow, and practice those really light finger weight shifts until that feels comfortable. The other thing I want you to be aware of is when you're doing your downward shifts, it's really easy for your wrist to start leading that, which looks like this. We don't want to see this. Your wrist shouldn't move first. It should be your whole forearm moving together. The other tendency that we have is for your finger to kind of want to be in charge as well. So that would look like this. And then the rest of it follows. Just make sure that your whole arm, your whole forearm anyway, is moving as a unit. When we speed this up, obviously our goal is eventually to not hear those shifts. So your bow, I mentioned before, is going to help hide that. What my bow is really doing is, instead of engaging in the string, it's kind of unengaging for a second and then re-engaging. So I'll demonstrate that really slowly. So I'm just right at the very beginning. I'm going to use, let's say like 50% arm weight for my bow. Unengage. And re-engage when I'm ready to play that new note. So let me do that one more time. Unengage, do the shift, and then re-engage when you're ready to play the new note. So it will continue to travel. We don't want your bow to stop, because this is all under a slur, so it should be legato or nice and smooth. So if you're ready for that next step, let's try that. We're going to speed up our tempo just a little bit to be this. We're still going to do 6 per bow, or 2 groupings per bow. So let's give that a shot. Ready, set, go. Light. shifts perfectly clean and undistinguishable? No, I need to practice this more too. So if that's you and you're like me and that was a bit of a struggle, you might want to stop the video, just practice it through a few more times before we move on to our solo. Our solo does have a lot of shifts in it, so I think this is a really great etude to lead into that. As always, you're welcome to do more of that etude. The principles that we talked about are the same, so you're still going to shift to that guide finger. And one thing that's really important about those guide fingers, I mentioned kind of briefly, I passed over it before, but those guide fingers are shifting to a position. So I'm never thinking about, oh, I need to hit C sharp, I need to hit A. I'm thinking I need to shift with X finger to X position. So I need to shift with my second finger to third position. The positions are usually closer, well, sometimes closer than what the note is, but it's really helpful for your hand frame if you're thinking in terms of what position am I in as opposed to what note am I shifting to. So hopefully you find that helpful. Now we're ready to move on to our solo piece. This is the second movement. It's titled Madrigal from a lovely Venezuelan composer, Modesta Bor. She lived in like the early 1900s, and this was another piece that I did on my dissertation recital, and I really, really love it. I hope that you do too. So this is just the second movement. We're also in A major here, and there are a lot of shifts. So we're going to talk through the piece. We'll do a slow playthrough, and then a little bit closer to tempo playthrough. This is meant to be played with piano. If you're interested in the sheet music for this, I'm going to post a link to a website that I actually just found today below that has over 1,000 works by Latin American composers, and Modesta Bor Sonata is on there, and it's just a PDF free download. So if you're interested, check out the links below. So right at the beginning, we're going to start this in second position. So let's just find that together. I'm going to, on the G string, play my A, and shift with my 1 to B, and then plop C sharp. So now that we found second position, we're going to start there in second. It's 2, touching 3. Let's try that again. My finger pattern is 3 and 2 touch here. So find that C sharp. Ready? Go. Stay in second. Shift to first on that open D. Shift to second again, it's the same as the beginning. Third position. Then reach back with your 1 to second position. Shift to fourth position on this 1. Reach back with your 1. Stay in third position. Touching 2 and then low 2. Use your open to shift to first position. We want to hear that interval, oh, wee, oh, that's the interval. So let's try that again from that open D. Hear the interval before you shift. One more time and we'll go on. Shift to 3. Shift back down to second position. Now that shift there is an octave, so I'm hearing that high B flat. And making sure that I'm hitting it on the low end as well. Let's go back to the beginning of that measure now that we know where we're shifting to. Shift. Shift. Now we're going to just scooch up to third position here. So that completes our first phrase. As I mentioned, there are lots of shifts in this, and these are just my fingerings that I'm suggesting that you do. It's your interpretation, so if there's something that I do that you're not particularly fond of, or you think it sounds better a different way, by all means, change those fingerings and really make it your own. Now we're going to move on to our next entrance, which we're going to be in third position here. So let's find that C sharp. Let's do it. Ready? Go. Cross your high 2 and then low 2. Scoot your 1 down and then stay in second position. Shift with a low 1. So one of our shifts that we just passed, I consider an expressive shift, meaning that I want to hear a little bit of the shift. So this is measure 23, where we went from third position to first position. So I'm trying to make this a clean shift, but I'm going to still hear a little bit of the stuff in between. And that's okay. You don't want to be excessive about it. Doesn't sound so great, but just a little schmear there I think sounds kind of nice. We're going to go to our next entrance, which is in measure 27, and this is also starting just with one note in second position, and then we're going to shift right up to third position with that next high E. So find that E, and then shift to third. Stay in third. First position. Third position. First position, shift. Then take that one and shift to second position. Stay there. Shift to first. Huge crescendo here. Second position. Okay, we've got some pizzicato coming up here. I have two options for what I can do with my bow. I can either hold it, I call this pincher position, so that my thumb and my pointer finger are free, or I can just hold my bow normally and stick out my pointer finger. We do have time to transition from pincher mode if we want to, and I think that's a little bit more stable, so that's what I'm going to do. Even though this is pizzicato, it's a solo piece, so we have to make sure that we're phrasing it. General rule is if a line gets higher in pitch, we're going to phrase or make it grow. If it gets lower in pitch, we're going to decrescendo and get a little bit softer. So let's try right on those pizzicatos. 4, E, and 1. Get your regular bow hold, and we're going to start the next thing in second position. So find that B. Stay there, and it's a high 3 when we cross because of the G sharp. Ready? Go. Separate these a little. So we just passed another half step shift. We started on F sharp, and we're just going to take that 2 and scooch it up a half step so we can go to third position. Let's start right there. This is halfway through measure 38 on that F sharp, and it's a down bow. So find your F sharp at second position. Ready? Go. High 2, low 2. Shift. Shift here to fourth position. Second position. Third position. And then save your bow, shift up on the D string to that next highest C sharp. So let's just try that last measure. It's the same thing, just an octave higher. So starting in third position on that C sharp, save your bow, shift, and then we're going to finish at the tips. Smorzando means kind of dying away. So now that we've talked through this, you see there's so many shifts in this. And again, these are all optional. They're just the fingerings that I've chosen to do. If you do want my part with all my fingerings in it, that's on Patreon. Otherwise, download that free version down below. So now we're ready for our slow playthrough. We'll do our slow playthrough, and then we'll do our at-tempo playthrough. There are a bunch of dynamic markings in here that I'm doing my best to honor. And remember that your interpretation or your phrasing might be a little bit different than mine, and that's totally okay. So let's find that first note, C sharp. Let's try it. 1 and 2, and 3. Stay in that position. We're going to start at our next entrance. 2 and 3. Next entrance, 2 and 3. I hope you had some success on that slow playthrough. We're going to do our at tempo playthrough this time, and we'll do the same thing. So we're not going to count all the rests, but I will cue you for the next entrance. So let's find that starter note again. Let's go. 1 and 2 and 3. Next entrance, 2 and 3. Next entrance, 2 and 3. I really hope you enjoyed working on our etude and our solo and even our scales this week. If you've heard this Modesta Bor Sonata before, could you comment in below where you heard it? It's a discovery that I made when I was doing my research, and it's just a sonata that I've really come to love, so I hope that you love it as much as I do. There's always a lot of things that I don't get a chance to cover because I don't want these videos to be 5 hours long, so if there's anything that I missed that you have a question about, post that in the comments below too. I love trying to help from afar. As always, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Happy practicing.